Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking this time to join today's webinar presentation, highlighting how Payroll for Construction can help simplify your multi-state payroll. My name is Alex Gray, one of the regional sales managers here at Payroll for Construction. I'll be going through hosting today's webinar. Looking at the time here, I know we're just about at the top of the hour. We still have some attendees that are filing in onto the webinar here, so we'll give them a few minutes to get logged in, and then I'll be back with everyone to kick off the presentation once everyone's joined us. We'll be back with you in a moment. Thanks again for taking the time to join today's presentation. All right, so we had some others get logged in here. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll go ahead and kick off today's webinar presentation. So again, for those of you that have just joined us, thank you for taking the time today to join us for today's sales webinar covering how to simplify your multi-state payroll with Payroll for Construction. Again, my name is Alex Gray, one of the regional sales managers here with the Payroll for Construction team. I'll be going through today, talking some of the pain points that we could have tracking multi-state payroll, and as well as how Payroll for Construction can help alleviate those multi-state payroll items, as well as a number of other items when it comes to construction payroll process, with Payroll for Construction being construction-specific online third-party payroll processor. I'll pull up my contact information here. Today's webinar, for those in the audience, is a listen-only webinar presentation. You'll see on the sidebar, you do have the ability to go ahead and throw any questions in the chat. So as we go along today, any questions that come up, feel free to go ahead and throw those in the chat. I'll have a questions portion at the end of the presentation today. We'll be happy to address any questions that may have come up. But also as well, anyone that may have a question that comes up after the fact or some other information that you maybe want to set up time for us to connect for a one-on-one demonstration, feel free to give me a call here or shoot me an email. Be happy to answer any questions or set up a demonstration to show how our services can help simplify your payroll runs. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and get jumped into things this afternoon. So with multi-state payroll, some of the typical needs that we'll see with those multi-state payroll runs is, one, for starters, calculating multiple states and potentially local taxes depending on where we're working. With those multi-state payroll runs as well, we could have employees that are working in one state under one taxing jurisdiction on one job on Monday. Then, hey, if we're working in a state like Ohio or Kentucky where we have these local taxes that we have to track, or working on the border of a state, we have someone getting sent over to a separate locality or a different taxing jurisdiction in another state later in the week, we're going to have multiple states and local taxes that we're going to need to track for these employees. If we don't have a system in place that we can tie in taxing information to kind of our job records, have also information tracked on the employee side for those taxes, maybe things like residence, it's going to be a very cumbersome process to make sure that we have all of the information being tracked and then reporting the information over to the corresponding jurisdiction where it needs to go to. The Payroll for Construction, as we go through, we'll talk about how we can tie in those taxing tables to a job record. And as we're coding those hours into the system, I'm going to pull in the corresponding taxing information and track one state, multiple states on the time card, multiple localities, all could be handled with our services. Then also going hand with those state and local taxes is if we have union prevailing wage work, we could have multiple rates by job, trade, and those rates can also change based on the corresponding state that we're working in. Inside of our system as well, we'll need something that will be able to handle these rates, the taxing information, something that's going to automate and pull the information in for us, as well as looking at a job level. Because again, we could have one project on Monday with one rate in one state,
On Tuesday, I'm working on another project, an entirely different pay rate, entirely different jurisdiction. Can be a lot of information that we're going to need to track as we're bouncing around. So we'll need something that can handle that information. Going hand in hand with that is also the fringing information. Again, with the multiple rates, multiple fringes, benefits that we're going to need to track, as well as workers' compensation by those individual states, state unemployment. If we don't have a system in place that's going to help do the automation for us behind the scenes to pull on this information, it can be a very cumbersome process, and running payroll that week can turn from a 2-hour task maybe into multi-day tasks, as well as that if we're not tracking the information and reporting it correspondingly, we could be subject to any payroll tax notices. So we're going to need something in place that's going to track all of this information for us. Enter that a construction-specific payroll service like Payroll4Construction. So who we are, what we do, Payroll4Construction is an online payroll service provider only working in the construction industry. We are processing payroll in all 50 states, have clients located in all 50 states. Again, doesn't matter if you're working report in one state, multiple states, multiple localities. We'll go through today and show how Payroll4Construction can handle the legwork of tracking this information. Then with us being a third-party payroll provider, we're going to go ahead and make those tax filings and payments on your team's behalf. What also separates us from other providers is we are powered behind the scenes by a full job cost ERP accounting software known as Foundation. Foundation was founded back in 1984, but in 2006, the team realized that, hey, not everyone needs the full power of the accounting system. One of the great parts about it is going to be that very powerful payroll module that have the ability to track those construction-specific payrolls as well as multi-state payrolls. One of the bread and butter main things that the system was built for and designed for in the construction and multi-state. So we'll have that powered behind the scenes. That within us at our core, we're going to be that traditional payroll service provider. We'll pay the employees via check direct deposit, handle all tax filings and payments when it comes to those payroll runs, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annuals, as well as year-end W-2s. But also as well, a big part of that payroll with construction is that reporting. So then we're going to automate reports as well. Union, certified payroll reports, job cost reports, EEO, minority compliance reporting, all available inside of the system, as well as going back to multi-state information with certified payroll. Hey, one state's going to have maybe their own specific certified payroll report that we're going to need to provide, as well as another is going to have their own specific format. Also going to see how we'll have reporting available for whatever state we're working in, all inside of that actual payroll system. But that how it works, what we do. So construction specific payroll. So again, today going to hone in and kind of keep mentioning that multi-state, multi-locality payroll. So it doesn't matter the number of states, or again, if we're working in any states like Ohio, Kentucky, where we're going to have multiple local taxes that we need to track for the team members, as well as maybe even the residency taxes that we need to track for the employees. Inside of our payroll system, during setup of your database, we'll go through and get any taxing tables added to the system that you may need. We'll also set up any potential residency taxes on those employees' records, that with the actual state and any local taxing tables on our actual jobs inside of the payroll database, we can grab that corresponding taxing table. So then as hours are being entered against those projects for the corresponding employees, it's going to automate and pull in that taxing information. That's then all tracked for us behind the scenes, so that with our team being that third-party payroll provider, once that payroll is submitted to us for processing, we'll see the breakout of the information and send it off to the corresponding jurisdiction where it needs to go. Inside of the system as well, we're also going to have ways that we can automate the remainder of the construction-specific payroll process, especially when it's coming to union prevailing wage information, as we'll have separate pay rate tables that we can assist with setting up the prevailing wage pay rate information, or based on our union contract, the list of trade classifications, the corresponding rates of pay. Tables are set up inside the system. We'll also then have a separate table to track the corresponding fringe and deduction information for that prevailing wage cash fringe, or the fringe and deductions for that union contract. Have the tables that we can set up. Tie those can default in from the employee's records, or I'll even show you today how we have union crossover, working with multiple unions, or when we're working in different states, going to have different prevailing wage information and benefit information that we'll need to track. These tables can be tied to those job records. So with us, a job is truly a job. Pull in the corresponding rate of pay, track all the corresponding taxing information. Again, unlimited number of jobs, rates, states, localities, all on one time card with Payroll for Construction. We'll also then too be able to provide a prevailing wage fringe reduction factor. So if we are already offering benefits to those employees through the company, and hey, this prevailing wage project is requiring us to pay you a certain number of dollars in benefits, you don't have to take those dollars and pay them on top of each other. We can go through and reduce that down, that fringe credit, so we're not overpaying when it comes to the fringe information, as well as then too, workers' compensation. So with workers' compensation, one thing to keep in mind, Payroll for Construction does not handle any workers' compensation payments. We do know how big of a part of the payroll process, job cost information, having that policy set up and tracked is. So corresponding workers' comp for the states, we'll set those up, have those tied into the system, and have that automatically tracked with the corresponding class that we need those employees to work under, and have a report available for us from a high-level class breakdown, or can get down into an employee by employee, earn code by earn code basis. That, like we had mentioned earlier too, going hand in hand with that construction specific payroll and tracking the information is going to then be that construction specific reporting. One of those that can take the most amount of time out of your day, and having that information entered, maybe pencil and paper, filling out a certified report. Not the case with Payroll for Construction. All of our reports are included as a payroll client inside of your payroll system. Certified payroll reports going to have print and electronic formats available inside of that database. So whether you maybe just need a generic WH-347, US Department of Labor report, or hey, I'm in Pennsylvania, need Pennsylvania specific print report, or if I'm working in an online portal that we're starting to see the industry shift to. LCP tracker, EMARS, California DIR, just to name a couple there. Have electronic formats available that you're going in, put in your date range, generating a file that you can then pull out of your payroll system and upload to the online certified report. Get no manual entry of certified information with our payroll services. Also then going to have EEO, minority compliance reporting, print and electronic formats available there as well. Job labor, burden cost reporting, workers' compensation, 401k, as well as union reporting. Doesn't matter if we're working with one union, multiple unions. We'll get that union information set up in the system based on those union contracts. As hours are coded in, we'll handle that paying of the employees. You'll have a union report to show us the total hours, earnings, and benefits, along with the overall bottom line of where we stand with that union or as many unions as we may need to track. And finally, going to offer a child support and other garnishment services. With any child support and other court-ordered garnishments, you could have our service automatically withhold the amount and then handle any garnishment payments, sending off the information in-house. Or if you wanted to outsource the handling of any garnishments, after the amount is withheld from the employee's pay, our team can send off the garnishment information where it needs to go if you wanted to include that as a part of our payroll services. That at our core, we're still going to be that traditional payroll service provider. So we'll pay the employees via check or direct deposit. We'll also handle then all tax filings and payments when it comes to payroll. So the weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual tax filings and payments can handle, again, any federal, state, local authorities, FUTA and SUTA, as well as to the filing and distribution of employee W-2s come year end, along with other year end service offerings that we do provide here. Then what else makes us different? So even though we are powered behind the scenes by that job cost ERP accounting software foundation, we know that not everyone is using foundation there. So we have the ability to integrate with QuickBooks and other accounting programs out there. With Payroll for Construction, you enter your information in your payroll database. Once payroll's been processed, you can then have that information be passed back into the accounting system to have all of our information then updated in our main system of record. And with us, only focus is construction. We have a team of payroll, tax, and support specialists only trained in our systems located in our office. We don't outsource any of our payroll support. They're only trained on Payroll for Construction services, our databases, as well as working day in, day out with multi-state contractors, union, prevailing wage contractors. You can call in, log a ticket, you're going to get a live support representative that will be able to assist, and they're going to be experienced with the payroll types, multi-state construction payrolls that your team is dealing with, as that is what we are handling here at our services. That payroll for construction itself could be web-based access anytime, anywhere with an internet connection. To enter your payroll information, you would need some sort of computer, laptop device to access the payroll system. We also do offer mobile time card applications for collecting those hours through the field to bring them in the system after they've been approved for payroll. But if you are also already utilizing a time card app for the team, we do have a time card import feature where once the hours are collected through the app, can import an hours file into the actual payroll database. And we do also offer an online pay stub portal for the employees to log in and retrieve their pay stubs electronically, as well as to a full employee self-service HR system that we can onboard employees, have a little bit more access to them to review information when more than just pay stubs. So we do have some other kind of offerings to, whether it comes to tracking hours or also giving the information for the employees to view and manage their information, as well as bring on new users. But how a payroll is processed, you simply log in online, you enter or import those hours into your database. You'll then have a number of proofing reports, pre-check registers to review the hours and calculations. Then once the information looks good to go, you click submit, send a copy of that database to our team for processing. In an hour, we'll have that payroll processed. All the information then seamlessly flows to your payroll reporting section. Your taxes will be filed, payroll employees will be paid, then all of your construction reporting is available to you in your actual database. But then what I will do at this point is I'll actually pull up my payroll system and jump through, kind of show some of these tables that we'll have, as well as the taxing tables that we can tie to that individual job record for state, local taxes. So within the actual payroll database, we would start your team with a blank database copy that gets you connected with an implementation specialist. They'll, one, get the corresponding taxing tables loaded into the system, as well as when it comes to our employees, jobs, cost codes. You'll start with a blank copy that we'll build from the ground up. It's only going to have the information that your team needs for your payroll runs. One of the first places that we'll start here too is going to be in payroll maintenance. So be where we'll come in, set up the employee information, as well as set up the workers' compensation information for the team. But one of the sections here that will differentiate us is this union prevailing wage section, where then I'll have those separate tables that we had mentioned to track union prevailing wage information. Unlimited number of tables that can be set up and managed inside of the system, as well as the payroll for construction team can assist with managing these for you. You take that union information per that union contract, set up the corresponding trade classifications, corresponding rates of pay. Again, doesn't matter if we're working with one union, multiple unions, be able to set up however many unions we may need, as well as to prevailing wage information, whether this is going to be on a job by job basis, an area basis, set up that prevailing wage information, as well as to, we'll have a separate table that I'll jump into in a moment to show the prevailing wage fringe tracking, as well as the union benefits deduction fringes tracking the information. With these tables then, we can take them and tie them directly to a job record along with the corresponding taxing information. So as I code those hours in, corresponding rate of pay, taxing jurisdiction, everything's going to be automated and pulled in by the system. No manual work pulling in this information for the team. We'll also notice too, have corresponding effective dates. So if we have any updates to that rate information, once, twice, however many frequencies we may be subject to rate increases for those contracts through the year, we can take that updated information, timestamp it with the upcoming effective date. So once that change does occur, no matter if that's the beginning of a payroll run, in the middle of a payroll run, the system will look at that effective date and be able to switch over all of our employees that are falling under that union or prevailing wage information to the updated information. No need to go in and update 20, 30, 40, 50 plus employees' records if we had any changes to our union prevailing wage information. I'll go ahead and jump out of here, and then what I'll jump into next real quick
is that deduction fringe information. So again, a limited number of tables set up and managed here. Within those then, doesn't matter if all trades, all employees are being calculated at the same rate, or I need to get down to a trade by trade, employee by employee basis, I can do so. Then with those actual information, we'll take what it actually is. Is it a deduction? Is it a fringe? Set up how that it needs to be laid out for that benefit. Set up then the corresponding codes, naming conventions for how you want your benefits to be laid out, as well as then how does this need to be calculated? As, hey, not all benefits are going to be calculated the same way. Some of them, hey, could be subject to hours worked, hours paid, where we could have the 0.5 calculation for overtime be subject to that benefit, or we might not need to have that 0.5 calculation for overtime be subject to it. Is it a percentage? Is it a fixed amount? Set up how it needs to be calculated, the rate it's calculated at, give control how these are taxed, set up limits to corresponding benefits, along with that effective date. That information is set up, tracked for our employees, pulls into that union report, as well as anyone prevailing wage information, same thing, trade by trade, employee by employee basis, whether that fringe is going into one bucket or we're breaking it out maybe into 401k, HSA, can track that prevailing wage fringe information, have those tables set up. All this information is automatically tracked by the payroll system. Then I'll go ahead and jump out of here. And what I'll jump to next is then that actual job setup. So to have information recorded inside of the system, as well as then break out where we need to file the information to for that multi-state taxing information, as well as union prevailing wage information, and then having the integration back into the accounting system. We would want projects to be set up inside of the payroll system. And with those projects and those tables, going to do the automation of the information for us. Where if I'm coming in and setting up a job record, combination of letters, numbers, dashes, alphanumeric, doesn't matter how those job numbers and descriptions need to be set up. And there are a number of fields for you to track information. If you wanted to track customer, project manager area, you could do so. But the main information with the payroll service is number, description, then that payroll tax group. Where is this information needing to be going? Where is this job taking place? We'll set up then the corresponding taxing tables inside of your system. You can see a number of my Maryland local taxes, Ohio local taxes here. We'll set up then the corresponding taxing jurisdiction tables. So hey, maybe this job's taking place in Brecksville, city in Ohio. Pull in the corresponding taxing table. It's now going to then track my state taxing information, as well as the local taxing information per Ohio's regulations, as well as if I have residency information set up for an employee, potentially, you can track the residency information on that employee setup. That taxing table is then tied in, going to track all the information accordingly for this project. I also need a certified payroll report generated. Turn this checkbox on. Then those union prevailing wage tables that we were covering earlier. I need to go ahead and, hey, this is going to be a union or a prevailing wage project. I can then come over to my certified payroll tab. I can grab that union and the benefit table that was set up inside of the system, as well as I can grab the prevailing wage and the corresponding prevailing wage fringe table per your setup. And then also as well, another thing with multi-state payroll. Hey, we're based in Pennsylvania. When we're working in Pennsylvania, we're working with Union Local 6, maybe for my example, but hey, when our guys get sent over to New Jersey, we're working under a new taxing jurisdiction, as well as we have a separate union that we're working with. I like to refer that here as union crossover. We're working under a new union. We can have those union tables set up inside the system. Then when I have that crossover occurring, I can say, hey, my guys are typically a part of Local 6, but today they're working under maybe Local 38 for my example, whatever tables we have set up and needed. And hey, what do I need to track? Deduction, fringes, deduction and fringes, along with the pay rates, or do I need to select certain information? Can have that union crossover for multiple states set up inside of the system. I save my job record, and then we go in and enter some information for a time card to then show you how the automation works inside of the system. So again, I can import, I have a mobile application,
or I can also manually enter time cards into the database. So for my example today, to show just an example of my employee, Rick Stevens here, I'm gonna have Rick work across a different couple of projects in this week. I'm gonna go ahead, insert 3 different line items. I'm gonna have Rick be my union employee. I'm gonna have him start on my job 96010. I'm also gonna have him work on job 96020. These are union crossover jobs, also occurring in multiple taxing jurisdictions for this employee in a week. I'm also too going to have him work on a final private commercial job with his record to show how private commercial rate of pays can also all be included on one time card for the team. And for entering the hours, simple as keying it in. Again, a limited number of jobs, rates, states, all on one time card here. Just go ahead and key these in. Then once my information has been entered, I'm not going to touch the information on the right, as once I then click OK, the system's going to do the legwork for me. And I am actually in my wrong database. Now that I look at this, let me switch his job numbers. I apologize there. 97021, and he's also going to work on 97051. Switch those projects here. I'm going to update his information. Once I now click OK, the system is then going to do the legwork for me, pull in the corresponding rate of pay based on this job setup and his trade classification on that contract, as well as then pull in the corresponding taxing tables so that that information for taxes is being tracked behind the scenes, pulling in the prevailing wage rates, tracking the corresponding fringing information for our team members, 3 separate rates of pay, could have even more included on the time card as needed. Then once my hours have been saved inside of my system, I'll then go through, have a number of proofing reports, pre-check registers for me to review the hours and calculations before our team ever touches that payroll for payroll processing. I'll just jump in and show an example time card list proofing report here. And with our reports as well, they're going to greet you with the criteria tab that allows you to control how you want your report to be formatted. You don't need some sort of computer science degree to change your report format with us. If I go to review my hours right now, I'm going to get my employees broken out with the corresponding job sites and their overall employee hours subtotals. Hey, I don't review this broken out on an employee by employee basis. I like seeing it broken out on a job by job basis. All right, back on that criteria tab again. We can control and save how you want your report to be formatted. Say I want to sort this by job and I don't care about my employee subtotals, so I want to see those job subtotals. Change my information, rerun this list. Same information now being broken out in the format as needed. Can also set up and save custom report layouts on a user by user basis in that actual payroll system. Then once the hours and information looks good to go, you come in, submit to our team for processing with the click of a button in that database. All that information then seamlessly flows into your payroll report section, all available to you at any point in time. No additional charges for utilizing these reports. We'll start with the workers' compensation report. Put in your date range. I can run this for one state, multiple states as needed. If I run this report right now, giving me the high-level class breakout. Hours worked, gross earnings, what was actually exposed based on cap setups inside of the system. But hey, maybe we're going through an audit or we're going to need a little bit more information when it comes to just a class breakout. Go down by trade, employee by earned code basis, switch my format, rerun the report. I now have my same information now being broken out with my classes, seeing my employees, corresponding earned codes. Arthur, 2 hours of overtime, $63 was his gross earnings, but only 42 was exposed based on a cap. Also then giving me my subtotals here at the bottom. Then also too with all of our reports, PDF, Word, Excel, CSV, click a button, save it to your desktop. Very easy to pull these reports outside of the payroll system. Go ahead and close out here. But also then to EEO minority compliance reporting, or another big one here, those certified payroll reports. So if I need to have the print paper copy generated of that certified report, you come in, put in the date range of the certified report that you need, then come in and select that format. Again, multiple state, city, federal specific formats for our reports available in the database. If a report format changes, our team is staying up to date with the regulations. We'll update the report format and timestamp that the change was made inside of the system. Go through then, select your format you need, and maybe the US Department of Labor report. Run that report, generates the certified information for us, along with as well the corresponding signature page, PDF it, pull it outside of the system, sign it, send it off where it needs to go. I can also have this ran for multiple projects at a time, and I can also even include no work performed certifieds if I ever needed to have those generated for the team. Also jumping out here and going back in, certified payroll electronic as well. Same thing, select your format that you need. Asterware, EMARS, LCP tracker, DIR. I'll flex LCP as a big one here. But for we need to generate a file to put into the online portal. Same thing, put in your date range. We'll set up a spot on the system where this file is going to be saved. You run this report. It's going to look like a jumbled mess of information, but that's because we're creating the file upload for your team. You come in then, click close. File has not been created, create file now, click yes. Go ahead and log into the online portal, grab that file, submit your certified, get no manual entry of any certified information with our services. Jump out there. Then also to those union reports. So again, one union, multiple unions does not matter. Put in the date range of the union report that you need. Go ahead and run. Going to break out then my trade classifications and provide me the bottom line where I stand with that union. I have Robert, Kevin working under my local 6 as foreman, all their hours, earnings, benefits, giving me the subtotal of their specific trade. Go over then see Susan's hour earnings under my apprentice trade, her subtotal, then giving me my overall bottom line of where we stand with the union, cut the check, send off the information, make the union payment. If I keep going through, again, as many unions tracked inside of that system as we may need, my local 38 information. Close out there. The last big one I'll cover here are burden employee summary report. So, hey, I'm paying Rick $15, $20 an hour, but once FICA, FUTA, SUTA, fringes, workers' comp comes into play, going to be more so maybe $30, $35 an hour. Our burden employee summary report will take our hours and earnings, but bring in all of our burden calculations to give us our true average hourly rate of what our employees are hitting us for when it comes to our payroll runs. But I'll go ahead and jump out there with that high-level look into the Payroll4Construction system and how we can help simplify the multi-state payroll, as well as a number of other pain points when it comes to the prevailing wage union construction payroll information. So I'll go ahead here. I want to open it up now for any questions that we may have in the audience. Feel free to go ahead and throw those in the chat. I do know we've had a couple that have been thrown in as we are going along here today, so I'll go ahead and answer those, but feel free to go ahead and throw that information in, or if you want to reach out to myself, send me a separate email, give me a call here. Happy to help discuss how our services could help with any of your pain points with those payroll runs. Well, it looks like we have one layoff checks. We'll cut a number of layoff checks during the week from time to time, would be able to do so with their services. Yep, absolutely. So any layoff checks, we'll have a separate pay period inside of the system that you can go in, enter any one-time check information, go ahead and cut that check outside of the system, hand it to the employee to get paid that same day. Then the next time we process that team's full payroll run, we'll be able to see any one-time check information and get all the taxing information up to date on our end as the payroll provider. As well as to our stubs, we need to show a breakdown of the job sites work, the hours and earnings, and the pay rate information. Do we have multiple stub formats available? Yep, so within our service, the system, we have a number of check stub formats available. So if you did need to list out the jobs they'd worked against, the dates, the hours, the pay rates, information broken out in detail on a stub, we have multiple stub formats for you to choose from. And we'll definitely have one that can provide that information to have it available to the team on those weekly stubs. At this point here, I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat. So again, my contact information is here at the bottom. Anything else that I can do to help, give me a call, shoot me an email here. Myself and my partner, Jim Welsh, handle demonstrations of Payroll for Construction. I'll be happy to go through a one-on-one overview or also just answer any questions that you may have with your payroll runs. But again, we will also send out a recording of the webinar today. So check your email following the presentation and you will receive a recording of that webinar. But again, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us for today's webinar presentation. Anything else we can do to help here, please don't hesitate to reach out. I want to wish everyone happy holidays here. I hope everyone has a great rest of their day today.